Arcane, what time it is? It's time for my usual race review, this time the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix. Can I just mention, first of all, Friday was a very strange day of F1 running, wasn't it? In FP1, we saw more groundhog action than F1 car action. Like, here, we see the groundhog. He was told there would be F1 cars racing around, but he sees none and has gotten a tad confused. That's probably the worst David Attenborough impression you will ever hear. On the weather, what is it with F1 weekends right now, and they're constantly being either rain or a risk of rain. But Ferrari first, I will warn you, this will be a tad more of a lengthy segment. I have a bit to say here. I will start this off by saying I love the Gilles Villeneuve tribute helmet that Charles Leclerc did, a helmet that was, according to his helmet designer, 100% Leclerc's idea. He almost didn't use it though, because apparently he forgot to run it by the Villeneuve family before doing it, and they were disappointed to have not been consulted in advance. That's what Jacques Villeneuve said. The issue being related to the sponsor logos and that, seemingly. He met with Joanne and Melanie Villeneuve before qualifying and was granted support from them to use it. Melanie said that they had no objections and that it was a nice tribute, which it is. I like that he got to use it in the end, because at the end of the day, when a driver does a tribute helmet to another driver, they mean well. And who better to run a Gilles Villeneuve tribute helmet at Ferrari than Charles? It was a bit of a strange weekend for Sainz. I dunna ken what was going on with him. He impeded Albon twice in practice 3, then later in the session was off at turn 1, and you know what his car afterwards kinda reminded me of? This glitch a few months ago on F1 22. This was the final race of season 2 of my team on that game, and Charles's car was like that the entire 50% race, and I pulled the ever-loving piss out of it. Then he impeded Gasly in Q1 at the very messy final chicane, very kind of dangerous as well, and that landed him a 3-place grid penalty, and he had a bit of a close one with Albon again in Q2, though that was all fine, no penalties there. On the Saturday, it just seemed like something was wrong, other than there clearly being something wrong with the way Ferrari works, but just a bit of a messy and strange Saturday for Sainz. Though it wasn't just Sainz, all of Ferrari really wasn't working as well as they could, because on the other side of the garage in qualifying, Ferrari should have boxed Leclerc when he asked to for the slicks in Q2. He was pissed after going out in Q2, mostly at his team by the looks of it to me, and rightfully so. You can pause and read all this if you want to, but the gist of it is he was saying how it wasn't difficult to see, the track was dry, and he said he wanted to go to slicks, and it should have been an easy session, but it wasn't. He said they'll talk and he hopes they'll listen to him more in the future. Now, we rarely hear Leclerc outwardly criticizing the team or expressing like a lot of frustration towards the team during his interviews, and sure, adrenaline was high after the session, blah blah blah, but when he does, like he did after quali, having that kind of outburst, you know you done fucked up. He said he wanted to box for slicks, and you could see the dry line. I will admit, I, over on Twitter, wasn't so sure of the slicks at start Q2, but it was the right tyre, and they went too late, and it cost them. Fred Vasseur said to Sky Italia that they wanted the lap on the inters to protect against the potential of a red flag, and that is fair. I can understand that, and I will say, while Charles was pissed in his interviews, he went crashing. Fred's aforementioned interview said that the adrenaline got the better of him after qualifying, and he could have done a better job as well, and that is true. I mean, he couldn't get a good enough lap on the slicks in the end, while others on the same quali strategy as him in Q2 could. But with that being said, in the end, it does come back to they didn't listen to his wishes to box sooner. They didn't box him soon enough for the slicks, which in cooler conditions like it was, they take time to get into the window. Despite him saying the adrenaline got the better of him after the session, you cannot ignore his outburst. They need to stop making life more difficult for themselves than it needs to be, and should listen to Charles more. For real, Ferrari, for the love of your hopes that's actually retaining Charles beyond the end of 2024, for once in your life, listen to the guy. Both the drivers, actually. They should listen to both of them, both Charles and Carlos, because after all, they're the ones driving the cars and feeling how it is out there in the changing conditions, especially the changing conditions. Listen to your goddamn drivers, they're the ones in the cars. I will say one thing on Leclerc's contract though. Word is for Sky Germany that apparently he and Ferrari are close to a deal for an extension. With all that ranting being said though, credit where it is due. Hell of a strategy. When they stayed out under that early safety car for Russell's incident, I tweeted out that they would either look like geniuses or idiots. and they look like geniuses for staying out and pulling that one stop, while most of the rest of the grid did a two stop. They oftentimes find themselves struggling with their tyre wear, but not today. Both cars did over half the race on the medium tyres. Credit where it's due. They pulled out the bag and had a great Sunday, which is, I guess, when it counts, because that's when the points are scored. P10 to P4 for Leclerc and P11 to P5 for Sainz. Great race for them, and thanks to their strategy. That's what gained them so many places, because they both only made one pass, and it was on lap 1, Leclerc getting ahead of Albon off the line, and then Sainz losing a place to Perez, then getting it back. Every other place was gained from either Russell losing the will to live toward it one way, and the strategy. But yeah, I didn't originally intend on the Ferrari bit being so long, but I had a bit to say. Saturday sure was a bit more complicated than it needed to be, but they pulled it back on Sunday. Gotta say it. They pulled it back in and kind of redeemed themselves ever so slightly, but they do need to sort themselves out a little bit. There's still problems with that team, but I'm gonna be happy with the P4 and P5 result for now. Okay, my rather lengthy segment on Ferrari aside, on to Red Bull. I would like to say rest in peace fully to Checo's championship challenge. After Monaco, it was one foot in the grave. Sorry, I cannot say one foot in the grave without thinking of that old TV show with that very name. After Spain, it was 2 feet in the grave, and now the lid is on the coffin and the dirt is being shoveled on top of it. We all thought he could put up a championship challenge, and after the first 4 race weekends, it really looked like he could. And I'd imagine he was thinking that he could actually challenge for the championship as well, but then he just started overdriving really and making mistakes in the past 4 races, and it's ended his challenge really. 69 points now the gap to Max, who just keeps on getting better and better and quicker. 6 race wins out of 8 so far this year. He just needs to maintain this gap for now rather than grow it, but knowing Verstappen, he will keep on growing it. He's matched Ayrton Senna's win total of 41 race wins in F1, and Red Bull have now reached 100 race wins in Formula 1. Big milestone for the team to reach that number 100. We hardly saw Max in the race today. He's now led the last 3 races start to finish. 224 consecutive laps led for him, which is the 5th longest streak in history according to Alex Jakes on the F1 TV comms. And can I mention, excluding Austria when they finished under safety car and the Baku sprint, this is the smallest gap at the end of the race that there's been between the winning Red Bull and the first non-Red Bull car we've had this season. At Aston Martin, it was a special helmet for Stroll for his home race, and that, along with his suit and boots, will be auctioned off after the weekend and the money donated to help with the wildfire situation in Canada. I love that he's doing that. I love that we're seeing drivers doing that a bit more, and it was upgraded clock for Aston as they brought their first big package of the season. What a finish between Stroll and Bottas. 3 100s on the line between them to Stroll's advantage. He got P10 on the line. That guy's usually pretty good on race day in Canada, which I suppose is good for him given it's his home race. Sure, he had a grid penalty for impeding in qualifying, but hey, I guess that didn't matter in the end, because as I said before, Sunday's when it counts. And Fernando Alonso, again, well-managed, calm drive from him to P2. Had that battle with Hamilton, and he apparently was dealing with an issue on his brakes or something at the end, or at some point in the race. Without the issues, you'd have to think maybe he could have put up more of a challenge to Verstappen, because it looks like Red Bull were maybe struggling a little bit more this weekend, but who knows. He's not so far behind Checo now for P2 in the championship. It is 8 points or something like that is in it. Alonso could be on here for second in the championship. He's on, he is in that battle. Keen to see who comes out on top. Mercedes next. As ever, Hamilton was quick around here. He's always good in Canada, and he showed it. He secured P3, had a brilliant duel with Alonso. Did lose out in the end, but hey, it's a solid P3 for him, and a better race for his teammate had. Shambolic race for George Russell. Hit the wall, as I mentioned before. I thought his race was over then. I really thought it was over, but then he kept on going, but did eventually retire with a problem. Wasn't his day. Messy race. Yeah, he'll be looking to try and come back a little bit stronger in Austria. But given it's mainly straights in Austria and top speed ain't exactly Mercedes' strength, we'll see. Down at Williams, it was upgrade central on Alexander Albon's car, and can I say, what a drive from the British-born Thai driver. P7, he drove the wheels off of that car and managed the pressure brilliantly. That is a brilliant result for him and Williams. They're going to be celebrating that 7th place finish. Well done to the team. I believe Albon got driver of the day and he deserves it. Mega race from him. Mega qualifying as well. At Alpine, Gasly was rightfully pissed at the end of Q1. That was a bit silly and a bit dangerous, that last chicane. Sainz should have gone a bit earlier, and then, well, for Gasly, the race just didn't come together for him. When I saw he was starting on the softs, I thought it was strange, and it was. It did not work out. I didn't think we'd see the softs today. We did. It didn't work. And a line on Ocon, his rear wing was a bit loose at the end of the race, wasn't it? But I mean, the rear wing didn't prevent there being a mega last lap battle between him and Norris. At Alfa Romeo, Valtteri Bottas has had yet another brilliant helmet design. This guy and his helmet designs, honestly, he's so good at bringing brilliant helmets. I believe it's his girlfriend, Tiffany Cromwell, who does his helmet designs, and they always turn out so brilliantly. So props to Tiffany on the brilliant designs. Valtteri as well. Freaking 10 out of 10. I love the design. Brilliant. 10 out of 10. And elsewhere, I got nothing on AlphaTauri other than that was a bit messy with Magnussen, and at Haas, mega qualifying lap from Hulkenberg. Just a shame on that grid drop. Overall though, that was a solid race. I really enjoyed watching that one. If you ignore Verstappen's like straight domination, then the last 3 races have been really, really good. This one, like the last 2, really good race, really enjoyed it. It was a decent watch, you know, there were some good battles up and down the field. There was a bit of a DRS train at times, but I guess that's to be expected at a place like Canada. But hey, we still got some really good battles up and down the field. One hell of a decorated F1 podium as well. 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion, probably most likely soon to be 3-time world champion Max Verstappen, and Adrian Newey collecting the Constructors' Trophy for Red Bull, and Adrian Newey has 23 titles, 11 drivers, 12 constructors from the various teams he's been part of. Very, very decorated podium there. Quite possibly one of the most decorated podiums that we've ever seen in Formula 1. Let me know your thoughts. What did you make of the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for 200 subscribers as well recently. I forgot to mention that before, but I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.